What if the peace you've been searching for all year was never found in presents, plans, or perfection? What if it was waiting for you in a single moment of harmony, a moment that quiets your mind, restores your soul, and reminds you what Christmas is truly about? Stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to experience isn't just music. It's an invitation to peace your heart has been craving. We live in a world that never stops talking. Notifications buzz before our eyes even open in the morning. Headlines compete for our attention, each one louder, more urgent, more alarming than the last. Opinions flood our screens, expectations pile up, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise, the human soul quietly whispers, "I'm tired." Not tired in the physical sense alone, but tired in a deeper place. Tired of the pressure to keep up, tired of pretending everything is fine, tired of living at a pace that never allows the heart to rest. And every year, as Christmas approaches, that tired soul begins to long for something it can't quite put into words, a peace that feels familiar yet distant, something remembered more than imagined, something the heart knows exists even if life hasn't reflected it lately. Christmas has always carried that tension. On the outside, it's bright lights, busy schedules, endless lists, gatherings to attend, meals to prepare, gifts to buy. On the inside, it's often something very different. It's reflection. It's memory. It's the awareness of who is missing from the table. It's the weight of another year that didn't turn out the way we hoped. It's unanswered prayers and quiet questions that never made it into conversation. And yet, despite all of that, or maybe because of it, Christmas keeps calling us back to peace. Not a shallow peace that ignores reality, but a deeper peace that can exist even when life is complicated. There is a reason traditional Christmas music still moves people across generations. There is a reason a simple choir harmony or a gentle orchestral arrangement can bring tears to eyes that have learned how to stay dry the rest of the year. It's not nostalgia alone, it's recognition. Something in us recognizes the sound of peace when we hear it. Something in us remembers a time when the world slowed down, when silence wasn't uncomfortable, when faith felt simple and hope felt possible. That recognition is powerful because it exposes a truth we often try to bury. We were not created to live in constant noise. We were created for harmony. Noise doesn't just come from the outside. It lives inside us too. It's the voice that says you're behind, you're not enough, you should be further along by now. It's the replay of conversations you wish had gone differently. It's the fear of what tomorrow might bring and the regret of what yesterday took away. This inner noise is often the loudest during the holidays because everything slows just enough for us to finally hear it. And when we hear it, we realize how desperately we want peace, not just around us, but within us. That longing is not weakness. It's evidence that the soul knows what it was made for. Peace isn't a luxury item reserved for perfect lives. Peace is a necessity woven into the design of the human heart. And when peace is missing, the heart notices. That's why no amount of entertainment fully satisfies. That's why distraction eventually wears thin. That's why even in moments of celebration, there can be a quiet ache beneath the surface. The heart is searching for something eternal in a temporary world. Christmas enters that search not as noise, but as contrast. It doesn't shout its message, it whispers it. a child born in a stable, a promise delivered in humility, a moment that could have been missed by anyone not paying attention. That alone tells us something profound about peace. Peace doesn't force itself on us. It waits to be welcomed. And in a noisy world, welcoming peace requires intentional stillness. This is why harmony matters so much. Harmony is different voices choosing unity over competition. Harmony is strength expressed through togetherness, not dominance. When a choir sings, no single voice carries the entire song. Each voice matters, but none overwhelms. The beauty comes from alignment, from listening as much as from singing. In a world that rewards being the loudest, harmony reminds us that true beauty comes from balance. And that truth resonates deeply because it reflects the way life was meant to be lived. The longing for peace is not just emotional, it's spiritual. It's the soul remembering its source. Long before the noise of modern life, long before constant connectivity, there was a rhythm to existence that included rest, reflection, and reverence. Christmas music taps into that rhythm. It slows the tempo of our thoughts. It creates space where silence is no longer awkward, but sacred. And in that space, the heart can finally breathe. People often say they love Christmas for the feeling it brings, but what they're really saying is they love the peace it promises. Even if that peace feels fleeting, even if it seems fragile, the promise alone is enough to draw us back year after year. We decorate, we sing, we gather, not because everything is perfect, but because something in us believes peace is still possible. That belief is powerful. It keeps hope alive in seasons where hope feels scarce. A peaceful holiday ambience is not about escaping reality. It's about facing reality with a different spirit. It's about allowing calm to coexist with complexity. It's about discovering that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of something greater than them. When choir voices rise gently over orchestral strings, they don't erase the world's pain, but they remind us that pain doesn't get the final word. This longing for peace is universal. It crosses cultures, languages, and generations. A melody doesn't need translation to be felt. Harmony doesn't require explanation to be understood. That's why traditional Christmas music continues to endure. It speaks to something deeper than trends. It speaks to the timeless human desire for rest, meaning, and connection. In a season filled with noise, these sounds feel like coming home. And perhaps that's why this longing intensifies at Christmas. Because Christmas doesn't just mark the end of a year, it invites us to pause between what has been and what will be. It creates a threshold moment where reflection becomes unavoidable. We look back at losses and lessons. We look ahead with hope and hesitation. And in that in-between space, peace becomes not just desirable, but necessary. The world will keep being loud. Schedules will fill back up. The noise will return. But moments like these remind us that noise is not all there is. Beneath it, beyond it, there is a deeper current of peace waiting to be noticed. A peace that doesn't demand attention, but transforms those who make room for it. A peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, but anchors the soul when circumstances shift. A peace that begins not with answers, but with stillness. From the very beginning, harmony was never an accident. It was intentional, woven into creation itself. When the world was spoken into existence, it was not chaotic noise that filled the void, but ordered beauty. Light separated from darkness, Land formed from water. Day followed night in a steady rhythm. Everything had its place, its purpose, its timing. Harmony was not just present, it was foundational. And deep within the human soul, there remains an awareness of that original design, a quiet recognition that life works best when it moves in alignment rather than conflict. Harmony is more than sound. It is agreement. It is relationship. It is different parts choosing to work together rather than against one another. In music, harmony exists when individual notes surrender their independence, just enough to create something greater than themselves. A single note can be beautiful, but it is limited. Multiple notes aligned in purpose create depth, richness, and emotion that no solo sound can produce on its own. This truth mirrors the way life was meant to function, not in isolation, but in connection. When a choir stands together, each voice brings something unique. Some voices are strong and resonant, others soft and gentle. Some carry the melody, others support it from beneath. None of them are wasted. None of them are unnecessary. Even the quietest voice matters because harmony depends on balance. Remove one part and something feels incomplete. Add too much of another, and the beauty is disrupted. This delicate balance reflects God's design for humanity, where diversity is not a problem to solve, but a gift to steward. The world often teaches the opposite. It rewards competition over cooperation, volume over unity, individuality over community. It tells us to stand out, to be heard above others, to prove our worth by outperforming those around us. But harmony does not work that way. Harmony requires listening. It requires awareness. It requires humility. It asks each part to understand its role and to trust that the whole will be stronger if everyone stays aligned. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Christmas reveals this design in a powerful way. The story itself is filled with unlikely harmony. Shepherds and angels, kings and commoners, heaven and earth meeting in a humble setting. Nothing about the scene suggests dominance or display. Everything points to unity and purpose. Even the silence surrounding the moment speaks volumes. God chose harmony over spectacle, relationship over recognition, and that choice continues to shape how peace enters the world. When an orchestra begins to play, no instrument announces itself as the most important. The strings, the brass, the woodwinds, the percussion all enter at their appointed times. Each waits for its cue. Each trusts the conductor. The result is not confusion, but coherence. Sound becomes story. Music becomes movement. Emotion flows not from chaos, but from coordination. This is design at work, not just musically, but spiritually. There is a reason harmony feels sacred. It reflects the nature of God, who exists not in isolation, but in perfect unity. Love, by definition, requires relationship. Harmony is love expressed through alignment. When we experience harmony, whether through music or community or moments of shared peace, we are experiencing a glimpse of how things were meant to be. That is why it feels restorative. That is why it feels right. It awakens something ancient within us. In a noisy world fractured by division, harmony becomes a quiet form of resistance. It refuses to participate in chaos. It refuses to amplify conflict. Instead, it chooses alignment. Christmas music does this beautifully. It does not rush. It does not compete. It invites. It creates space for voices to blend rather than battle. And in doing so, it reminds us that unity is still possible, even when the world feels fractured. God's design for harmony extends beyond music into the rhythm of life itself. Work and rest, giving and receiving, speaking and listening, faith and action. When these elements are balanced, life flows. When they are disrupted, strain sets in. Many people feel exhausted not because they are doing too much, but because life is out of harmony. Too much noise, not enough stillness. Too much striving, not enough trust. Too much output, not enough connection. Harmony restores what imbalance erodes. The choir and orchestra serve as a living metaphor for this truth. Each person involved has practiced individually, but the power comes when they come together. Personal preparation meets collective purpose. No one performs for themselves alone. Every sound is offered to the whole. This is how God designed community to function, not as a collection of isolated individuals, but as a unified body moving in the same direction. Harmony also requires submission, not in a negative sense, but in a purposeful one. Musicians submit to tempo. Singers submit to key. Everyone submits to the shared vision of the piece. This submission does not diminish them, it elevates them. It allows their gifts to be fully expressed within a context that gives them meaning. In the same way, when people align their lives with God's design, they do not lose themselves, they find themselves. This is why disharmony feels so unsettling. When notes clash, the body reacts. Tension rises. Something feels off. The same is true in life. When relationships are broken, when values conflict, when purpose is unclear, the soul experiences strain. Harmony, by contrast, brings relief. It allows the heart to settle. It reassures us that things can work together, that difference does not have to lead to division. Christmas harmony carries this message without needing words. It speaks through sound, through pacing, through resonance. It reminds us that peace is not passive. It is intentional. It is built through alignment, through choosing unity, through honoring the role each part plays. God's design has always pointed toward togetherness, toward wholeness, toward a world where many voices create one beautiful song. When people gather around these sounds, something shifts. Defenses lower, hearts open. The constant need to prove or perform fades. For a moment, everyone is simply listening. And in that listening, harmony does its work. It realigns what has been pulled apart. It restores perspective. It reminds us that we belong not just to ourselves, but to something greater. This design is not outdated. It is not idealistic. It is deeply practical. In a world desperate for peace, harmony offers a path forward that does not require uniformity, only unity. It does not erase differences, it weaves them together. It does not silence voices, it blends them. This is the beauty of God's design, a design that continues to reveal itself every time voices rise together in purpose, every time instruments move in unison, every time peace is chosen over noise, alignment over chaos, unity over division. Amid the business and clamor of the world, there exists a longing in the human heart for stillness, for a pause that allows us to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters. Christmas, perhaps more than any other season, invites us into this sacred stillness. It is a stillness not merely defined by the absence of noise, but by the presence of meaning, of divine intention, of a quiet that speaks louder than words ever could. In a world where every moment seems to demand our attention, where the constant flow of information, obligations, and distractions pulls us in 1,000 directions, Christmas stands as an oasis, a deliberate interruption that calls the soul to rest. The sacred stillness of Christmas begins with the story itself. The scene is simple, almost stark: a stable, animals quietly milling, a mother and father, a newborn child lying in a manger. No grand stage, no political power, no spectacle. And yet, within this simplicity lies profound significance. God's entrance into the world comes not with overwhelming force or dramatic fanfare, but with gentle, purposeful stillness. The world is invited to pause, to notice, to lean in, and to recognize that the greatest movement of history began in the quiet. This stillness contrasts sharply with the noise that dominates human life, reminding us that true power often works subtly, without demand or coercion. To experience this sacred stillness is to encounter a shift in perception. It allows us to see beyond the surface of life, beyond the superficial rush, beyond the endless, to-do lists and social obligations. In stillness, the mind unclutters itself, the heart softens, and the soul begins to awaken to the truths that business often obscures. It is in these moments that we realize the value of presence over productivity, of listening over speaking, and of contemplation over reaction. The stillness of Christmas teaches us that life's most meaningful gifts are not found in action or noise, but in attentive awareness, in intentional reflection, and in openness to divine presence. Music, particularly the traditional sounds of Christmas, acts as a bridge into this sacred stillness. The gentle harmonies of a choir, the subtle resonance of a string section, the soft rhythm of percussion, all these elements work together to slow the pulse of the day. They create space within us, a kind of sonic sanctuary where the heart can settle. Even before the lyrics are processed, the soul recognizes the rhythm and alignment, feeling an intuitive call to pause. This is why people are drawn to Christmas music year after year, not simply for its aesthetic beauty, but because it signals to the soul that stillness is possible, that quiet moments can be sacred, and that there is a space where God meets us in the depth of our being. The sacred stillness of Christmas also invites reflection on what is truly valuable. Amid the flurry of shopping, cooking, decorating, and celebrating, we are reminded to consider the intangible relationships, compassion, gratitude, and the inner life of the spirit. Stillness creates the mental and emotional space to reflect on these gifts, to notice the blessings that are too easily overlooked in the rush of daily existence. It draws our attention to the small miracles, the twinkle of lights, the warmth of a smile, the shared laughter of family and friends. In doing so, stillness shifts our perspective from what we lack to what is abundantly present, from external acquisition to internal awareness, from noise to nourishment of the soul. One of the most profound aspects of this stillness is its ability to restore perspective. In the quiet of a Christmas morning or a candlelit evening, we are reminded that life's challenges, while real, are not all encompassing. The stillness allows us to step back from worry, fear, and regret, placing them in the broader context of grace, hope, and divine timing. It is a form of spiritual recalibration, a chance to remember that we are part of a larger story, that our struggles are not isolated, and that peace is not only possible but accessible. In the silence, the heart can realign with the deeper rhythms of faith, trust, and love, which often go unnoticed in the noise of everyday life. Stillness is not a passive experience. It requires intentionality. To embrace the sacred stillness of Christmas, one must be willing to resist the pressure to fill every moment with action or entertainment. It is a conscious choice to step back, to slow down, and to engage with this season in a way that prioritizes presence over performance. This intentional stillness mirrors the humility of the nativity scene itself. Just as God chose to enter the world in a quiet, unassuming manner, so too are we invited to approach life with a gentle attentiveness, noticing the sacred in the ordinary and allowing moments of reflection to shape our experience. The practice of stillness also cultivates an internal peace that transcends external circumstances. It teaches the soul to remain grounded even when the world around it is turbulent. Christmas, with its sacred pause, provides an opportunity to cultivate this inner stability. By engaging with moments of reflection, prayer, and meditation, the heart learns to hold on to calm even as responsibilities, conflicts, and uncertainties continue to arise. In this way, stillness becomes a spiritual discipline, a tool for resilience, and a channel through which the deeper meaning of the season can be experienced and carried into everyday life. Sacred stillness is not only about quieting the mind, but about attuning it to the divine. In the stillness, subtle truths become clear. Insights that are often drowned out by constant distraction come into focus. Emotional tensions are softened, and relational wounds become more visible and approachable for healing. The stillness of Christmas invites an inner dialogue that is both restorative and revelatory. It allows the heart to speak and be heard, encourages reflection on the year past, and opens the way for hope in the year to come. In addition, stillness fosters connection. Ironically, in a season that can feel overwhelmingly social, sacred stillness reminds us that authentic connection begins within. By creating space to reflect, pray, and be present, we are better able to engage meaningfully with others. The calm we cultivate internally translates into more patience, compassion, and attentiveness externally. Through this inner stillness, the sacredness of relationships is more deeply appreciated, and the noise of superficial business becomes less compelling. Finally, the sacred stillness of Christmas allows the ordinary to be experienced as extraordinary. It teaches that God's presence is not found only in grand gestures or monumental events, but in the subtle, quiet, and seemingly simple moments. A gentle carol sung by a choir, the soft glow of lights on a snowy night, a candle flickering in a dark room, these are not insignificant. They are channels of divine encounter. In stillness, the ordinary becomes sacred. The everyday transforms into a stage where peace, hope, and love can manifest. The heart learns to recognize these moments not as interruptions to life's business, but as essential markers of the divine rhythm that has always been present and continues to guide us toward deeper awareness. Music has always held a unique place in the human experience. It is more than just sound. It is a language that transcends words, culture, and time. From the earliest civilizations, people have used music to tell stories, convey emotions, and connect with what is larger than themselves. In the context of Christmas, music serves as a bridge to the soul, linking the external celebration of the season with the internal experience of peace, hope, and reflection. Unlike other forms of communication, music does not rely solely on logic or reasoning. It speaks directly to the heart, bypassing defenses and reaching deep into the core of who we are, inviting us to feel, remember, and embrace the truths that often lie beneath our awareness. The power of music lies in its ability to awaken memory and emotion simultaneously. A familiar carol can instantly transport a listener back to a childhood moment, a family gathering, or a quiet night of reflection. The notes, harmonies, and rhythms resonate with personal experiences, creating a sense of continuity and connection across time. This is why traditional Christmas music feels timeless. It is both personal and communal, evoking shared experiences while allowing each listener to interpret and internalize it in their own way. Music, in this sense, becomes a vessel that carries the soul to places that words alone cannot reach. When a choir and orchestra perform together, the effect is amplified. The layering of voices, the interplay of instruments, and the careful orchestration all work in harmony to create an immersive experience. Each component contributes to the whole, just as different aspects of our lives contribute to the entirety of our being. The listener is invited to move beyond the surface level of sound, to immerse themselves in the textures, the dynamics, the rises and falls of the music. In doing so, the mind slows, the heart opens, and the soul is given permission to respond. It is in these moments that music acts as a bridge, connecting what is external and audible with what is internal and deeply felt. Christmas music, in particular, carries a spiritual dimension that amplifies its impact on the soul. It is more than entertainment. It is a form of storytelling and worship that reflects the profound truths of the season. From the humble birth in a manger to the angelic proclamations in the fields, the music carries the narrative of hope, redemption, and divine presence. The melodies and harmonies are crafted not just for aesthetic pleasure, but to evoke an emotional response, to create a space where listeners can enter into the story themselves. This is why the combination of choir and orchestra can be so powerful. Each element contributes layers of meaning, helping the listener move from mere hearing to immersive experience, from appreciation to transformation. Beyond emotional resonance, music also has a physiological effect that strengthens its bridge to the soul. Studies have shown that listening to music can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and regulate the nervous system. When the music is gentle, harmonious, and thoughtfully composed, it creates a sense of safety and calm, signaling to the body and mind that it is safe to slow down and reflect. In this way, music does not just speak to the soul metaphorically, it affects the entire being, aligning body, mind, and spirit toward a state of receptivity. In the context of Christmas, these physiological responses enhance the spiritual and emotional experience, allowing the season's message of peace and hope to penetrate more deeply. Music as a bridge to the soul also functions through the communal experience. When a choir sings or an orchestra plays for an audience, the shared experience amplifies the impact. The audience and performers become part of a collective rhythm, each heartbeat and breath synchronizing, whether consciously or unconsciously. This collective resonance fosters a sense of belonging and connection that mirrors the themes of Christmas itself: unity, reconciliation, and shared joy. It is in these moments that music transcends individual experience, drawing people into a shared encounter with the sacred, where each listener becomes a participant in something larger than themselves. Furthermore, the structure of music mirrors the spiritual journey. There is tension and release, dissonance and resolution, expectation and fulfillment. These musical elements reflect the rhythms of life, the challenges and triumphs, the longings and the satisfactions. When listening to a Christmas orchestration, one can feel the rise of anticipation, the quiet reflection in softer passages, the climactic moments of triumph, and the gentle settling into resolution. This journey mirrors the inner movement of the soul, moving from longing to hope, from expectation to fulfillment, from unrest to peace. Music, therefore, becomes not just a reflection of spiritual truths, but an experiential guide that leads the soul through the emotional and spiritual landscape of the season. The lyrics of Christmas music further deepen the bridge to the soul. Words of hope, peace, joy, and love are combined with melodies that amplify their emotional resonance. When sung in harmony by a choir, these words take on a power that transcends the literal meaning, touching parts of the heart that are often unreachable through speech alone. A single phrase, repeated in harmony, can evoke tears, joy, or a deep sense of awe. This is why traditional carols and sacred music continue to be cherished. They carry within them a multi-layered experience that engages intellect, emotion, and spirit simultaneously. Importantly, music provides access to what cannot always be articulated. Many experiences of the soul are subtle, complex, and difficult to describe. Grief, longing, hope, and wonder often resist translation into words. Music, with its combination of tone, rhythm, and harmony, can communicate these states without needing explicit explanation. It becomes a language of the heart, allowing listeners to experience, acknowledge, and integrate deep emotions in a safe and sacred way. In the context of Christmas, this ability to express and process complex feelings is especially powerful, as the season often stirs memories, expectations, and yearnings that are otherwise difficult to navigate. The improvisational nature of live performance adds another dimension to this bridging effect. While compositions may be carefully arranged, live performance carries subtle variations that make each rendition unique. Dynamics, phrasing, and timing create a living, breathing experience that responds to the moment. Listeners, in turn, are invited into this living moment, experiencing not just music, but life itself in motion. This dynamic interaction mirrors the spiritual reality that faith and hope are not static concepts, but lived experiences requiring engagement, attention, and openness to the present. Ultimately, music as a bridge to the soul reminds us that the human spirit is wired for beauty, rhythm, and alignment. It is a universal language that transcends barriers and speaks to what is eternal within us. In Christmas music, this bridge is particularly pronounced because it combines storytelling, harmony, emotion, and communal participation to create a multi-dimensional experience. The result is not only enjoyment, but transformation. Listeners are invited to pause, reflect, feel, and connect in ways that extend far beyond the auditory moment. This bridging power also calls for intentional engagement. To truly benefit from music as a conduit to the soul, one must listen actively with presence and attention. It is not background noise to be ignored, but an immersive experience to be embraced. When one engages deeply, the music begins to align thoughts, emotions, and spirit, creating an integrated experience of peace, hope, and joy. In the context of Christmas, this intentional listening becomes a spiritual practice, a way to encounter the season's truths experientially rather than merely intellectually or superficially. Music, therefore, functions as more than entertainment. It is a transformative medium that opens the heart, sharpens the awareness, and deepens the connection to what is sacred through melody, harmony, rhythm, and lyric. It offers a direct pathway to the soul, allowing listeners to experience the profound truths of Christmas in a visceral, immediate, and deeply personal way. It bridges the external world with the internal landscape, creating a space where reflection, emotion, and spiritual encounter converge, reminding the human heart that even amid a noisy, distracted world, there is a path to peace, presence, and enduring hope. Christmas is more than a season, it is an invitation. It is an invitation to pause, to reflect, to remember, and ultimately to experience a peace that endures beyond the fleeting moments of celebration. This peace is not a temporary relief from the pressures of life or a superficial calm that vanishes when the tree is taken down and the presents are unwrapped. It is a lasting peace, a deep set tranquility that roots itself in the soul and shapes the way we perceive, respond, and live each day. This invitation to lasting peace is at the heart of the Christmas message, extending far beyond decorations, rituals, or traditions. It calls the heart into alignment with a truth that is timeless, profound, and transformative. The world around us often suggests that peace is external, something to be purchased, achieved, or earned. Advertising tells us that happiness comes from acquiring. Social media pressures us to appear flawless, and daily routines often pull us in directions that leave the soul depleted. Yet, despite all these distractions, the human heart longs for something deeper, something that cannot be bought or superficially attained. This longing is what Christmas speaks to, quietly yet powerfully, reminding us that true peace begins within. It is a peace that is given, not earned, found, not manufactured, received, not demanded. Lasting peace requires receptivity. It requires the heart to open, to slow down, and to listen. Much like a garden where seeds will not grow without proper soil, sunlight, and water, peace will not flourish in a life that is closed, distracted, or resistant. Christmas invites us to prepare the soil of our hearts to create space for stillness, reflection, and receptivity. It reminds us that the noise of the world, the weight of responsibilities, and the burdens of past regrets cannot coexist with the presence of peace unless we intentionally allow room for it. The quiet moments, the reflective pauses, the attentive engagement with the season's truths become the channels through which lasting peace enters and settles. Music, in this context, becomes a powerful vehicle for extending this invitation. The harmonies of a choir, the richness of orchestral accompaniment, the gentle unfolding of melodies all work together to draw the listener inward. These sounds do more than entertain. They speak directly to the soul, communicating truths that words alone cannot fully express. Through music, the listener is invited to slow down, breathe, and allow the emotions of the season to resonate deeply. Music bridges the external and internal, creating a sacred space where the heart can be receptive to peace and the mind can align with the larger rhythms of hope, gratitude, and faith. Experiencing lasting peace is also about perspective. It is the ability to step back from the chaos and noise, to see life in its broader context, and to recognize that despite challenges, uncertainty, or pain, there is a constant foundation upon which the soul can rest. Christmas illuminates this perspective by reminding us that the greatest event in history, the birth of a Savior, occurred not in grandeur, wealth, or power, but in humility, stillness, and simplicity. This story itself is a testament that peace is not found in control, perfection, or external circumstances. It is found in alignment with truth, in surrender to divine timing, and in the recognition of a presence that transcends the fleeting demands of the world. The invitation to lasting peace also intersects with the human experience of hope. Peace and hope are inseparable. One cannot truly exist without the other. Hope sustains the heart during trials, and peace stabilizes the mind in the face of uncertainty. Christmas embodies this union, offering both a message of hope and a tangible experience of peace through its traditions, music, and reflection. As the melodies rise and fall, as the voices blend in harmony, as the story of Christmas unfolds, the listener is guided into an awareness that life, despite its imperfections, contains an enduring rhythm of hope and restoration. Furthermore, lasting peace requires integration into daily life. It is not confined to a moment, a song, or a ceremony. It is a state that informs how we relate to ourselves, others, and the world around us. When we accept the invitation of Christmas, we are called to carry this peace beyond the holiday season, allowing it to shape our responses to stress, conflict, and uncertainty. Peace becomes a lens through which we view challenges, a foundation upon which we make decisions, and a source of strength when external circumstances threaten to overwhelm us. This integration is both a discipline and a grace, requiring consistent awareness, intentional choices, and openness to the divine presence that sustains it. The communal aspect of experiencing lasting peace is equally profound. While peace begins within, it is often amplified when shared. The act of gathering, whether around music, family, worship, or shared reflection, creates a collective resonance that reinforces the individual experience. Choirs and orchestras exemplify this beautifully. Individual voices, each unique, converge to create a unified sound that transcends any single contribution. In a similar way, when individuals embrace the invitation to peace and extend it to others, a ripple effect occurs. Peace becomes both personal and communal, a living experience that touches hearts, transforms environments, and cultivates a sense of belonging and connectedness that mirrors the harmony inherent in the Christmas story. Acceptance is another dimension of this invitation. Lasting peace is not contingent upon perfection or the absence of difficulty. It is found in the midst of imperfection, in the willingness to embrace life as it is while trusting in the presence of a higher order. Christmas encourages this acceptance by presenting a narrative that values humility, vulnerability, and surrender over status, power, or achievement. The Nativity itself is a profound symbol of this principle. The greatest gift entered the world quietly, humbly, and vulnerably, reminding us that peace is not defined by grandeur or external validation, but by alignment with truth, presence, and purpose. Experiencing lasting peace also calls for gratitude. When the heart cultivates awareness of the blessings present, no matter how small, it becomes fertile ground for the deep sense of calm and contentment that peace requires. Christmas music, with its emotional richness and narrative depth, facilitates this gratitude. Each note, harmony, and lyric becomes an opportunity to reflect on the gifts of life, the kindness of others, the presence of love, and the constancy of hope. Gratitude, in turn, opens the soul, softens the heart, and creates a space in which peace can take root and expand, transforming ordinary experiences into moments of sacred reflection. The invitation to peace is ultimately an invitation to relationship with God, with self, and with others. In the stillness of Christmas, the soul is reminded that peace is not isolation, but connection. It is a bridge between the internal and external, a meeting place where reflection, alignment, and intention converge. Music, ritual, and contemplation all serve to reinforce this connection, providing a pathway through which the heart can access a deeper, more enduring serenity. Through engagement with these practices, peace becomes not just a seasonal experience, but a continuous presence, informing thought, behavior, and spiritual awareness. Lasting peace also challenges the soul to release control. It asks us to surrender our need to manage outcomes, to dictate experiences, or to chase fleeting satisfaction. Christmas invites this surrender through its narrative of divine timing, humility, and gentle guidance. The story of a newborn in a manger teaches that true peace does not depend on circumstances, but on trust in a greater order. It is an experiential lesson in letting go, in quieting internal turmoil, and in opening the heart to a presence that surpasses human understanding. This surrender is transformative, enabling the soul to move from anxiety and striving into rest and assurance, from external dependence into internal alignment, from fleeting relief into lasting serenity. Finally, this invitation to lasting peace is a call to presence. Peace is not found in the past or the future, but in the attentive embrace of the present moment. Christmas, with its rhythms of music, story, reflection, and ritual, draws the listener into this present, helping to silence distractions, clarify priorities, and illuminate what is eternally true. By entering fully into these moments, the soul experiences a peace that is tangible, enduring, and deeply nourishing. It is a peace that transcends circumstances, anchors the heart, and creates a foundation upon which hope, gratitude, and love can flourish. As we draw this journey to a close, the message becomes clear: Christmas is far more than a season of lights, gifts, and celebration. It is an invitation, a divine call to step out of the noise, to pause in the stillness, and to embrace a peace that reaches deep into the soul. From the longing we feel in a chaotic world, to the intentional harmony of choir and orchestra, to the sacred stillness that invites reflection, and the way music bridges our hearts to the eternal truths of the season, every element points us toward a simple, profound reality. Lasting peace is possible, and it is offered freely to all who will receive it. The harmony of voices and instruments reminds us that we were not designed to live in isolation or discord. We are meant to connect, to align, and to move together in a rhythm greater than ourselves. The sacred stillness shows us that peace is not found in frantic activity or perfection, but in moments of presence and reflection. And the music flowing through melody and harmony carries us to a place where our hearts can hear what our minds cannot always grasp: the quiet but undeniable truth that hope, love, and joy are alive and accessible. Christmas does not demand anything from us, but openness. It invites us to experience its beauty, to let the music wash over us, and to carry the sense of harmony and peace into the rhythms of everyday life. When we accept this invitation, the season transforms from a series of external events into an internal reality, a living experience of calm, gratitude, and connection. It is in these moments, in the stillness between the notes, in the unity of voices, and in the intentional pause of reflection, that the true gift of Christmas is revealed, a peace that transcends circumstances, a harmony that restores the soul, and a light that guides us into hope, joy, and love. So as the music fades and the lights continue to glow, carry this experience with you. Let the harmony remind you of God's design. Let the stillness center you in what matters most, and let the melodies continue to bridge your heart to the eternal truths of this season. Christmas is not just a moment in time, it is an invitation to a lasting peace that begins now in your heart and flows outward into every aspect of your life. Embrace it, receive it, and let it transform you.